Hello, this is Berrin from Ragic speaking. Today we're going to talk about some linking types that we have in Ragic and how they are used. So we have a few different linking types and they're all a little bit different. And if you're a newcomer to Ragic, it might be a little bit confusing. So we're going to talk about all the differences and how to use each of them. Now I know we're a little bit early, so we have 6 minutes until the webinar starts. But if you are have just joined, you can write some questions you have through the live chat. The live chat is right next to your video on the right side if you have a larger monitor. But if you have a smaller monitor, then if you scroll down a little bit, the live chat is still on the right side and you need to be signed in to comment. So feel free to ask me your questions and I'll start the webinar in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Alright, just checking if I'm streaming properly, and we have 5 more minutes. So if you want to grab a drink, grab a coffee, or water, I'll be here. Again, for the people who have just joined, if you would like to ask me any questions, use the live chat panel on the right side of your screen. It should be on the right side of the video. If you have a smaller monitor, then it should be a little bit downwards. If you scroll down, you'll see it on the right, and you'll need to be signed in to comment. Again, this is part of our webinar series. We're going to talk about linking types and how to use them. If you're a newer Ragic user, then you probably don't know all of the things that you can do with linking and how to use each of the linking options. So this would be a nice uh, webinar to join to have a look at what you can do with Ragic. If you have any particular question about what you are doing with your database, then please don't hesitate to let me know and we'll figure out the linking for that. And for users who have been with us for a while, this is a nice refresher course for you. We have already talked about the newer action buttons, so I'm not going to go into those today. But if you still have questions about the action buttons, please let me know. And we'll see if we have time to go over the action buttons. If not, we can always do that in the office hour as well. So this month, this is the first webinar of this month, and we will have data analysis from third-party tools next week. And on the 16th, we're gonna have the office hour webinar where you can join in and ask questions. On the 25th, which is a Thursday, we're going to have a data cleanup and preventing duplicates webinar, which is going to be very interesting, especially for newer users or non-Ragic users. That might also be very useful to take a look at data cleanup methods. By the way, the one on the 11th, which is data analysis through third-party tools, that's a really new topic for me as well. So if you have any suggestions on what to cover, please let me know. I already am working on covering different reporting and graphing tools with third-party applications. So we're gonna take our data from Ragic and then analyze them on other applications online by importing them or referencing to them with a by importing the URL. All right. So about today's webinar, we're going to again talk about different linking options, how to use them, and what's the distinction between them, basically. So I still have a minute to start, and if you're joining just now, please remember that you can ask questions anytime. I will answer them when I can, and I hope this webinar is going to be useful for you all. Alright, so we do have four main linking types in Ragic, and let's have a look at them. I have a basic sheet here with products, and I don't really have much here. I'm going to add some more fields, but I'll go to the design mode from the form page to have a look at our linking tools underneath our form tools. So you can see there's a list of sheet linking tools underneath here in the menu when you click form tools over here. So the first one is link and load. Link and load is used when you want to link data from one sheet to another and use um, one source of data to link the data, and then the loaded fields are what are being loaded that are related to that linked field. For example, if I were linking my customer to a sheet, I would link the customer ID first and all their related information such as customer name, their address, their phone number, whatnot can be loaded to the sheet I am linking to. Multiple versions is basically copies of each other. So one sheet, for example, my product sheet here can have many versions. For example, this one can be my inventory, and another version can be the products that I am offering, but some might not be in stock in the inventory. And another version can be my price list that I get from vendors, which is I keep internal. So you can actually have different versions that have different fields, but are basically um, about the same data. So what multiple versions does is it has a shared data source. What that means is it actually displays your data that's stored in your database different times in different sheets, but it's the same data. So if you change a value in one of the versions, then the other will also update. So we're going to go through that again because that's a lot to take in for now, but let me just go through this list and explain what these two are as well. So new sheet from subtable is when you have a subtable, which is a collection of rows of data inside one of your records. Ragic can generate a new sheet that collects all of those rows from each of your records on the parent sheet. So we're going to go through that as well. I know it sounds a little bit confusing at first, but once you see it in action, then it should be easier to understand. And show references from existing sheet is only settable when you have a link and load in your sheet. So basically, what I can do with show references is if I had a customer ordering some products for me with a sales order sheet, and I actually have that information of the customers that I'm selecting with link and load from my customer sheet. I can use this show references from existing sheets to display all that customer's previous orders on my customer sheet as a reference subtable. So that is also a really long explanation without having a look at it, but we'll go through that as well. So we're going to start with link and load because that's a prerequisite for this anyway, and we're just going to go um, with link and load first. Alright, so I have a couple of sheets that I already designed, and I have a few values in them. So my product sheet has 3 products, so three like regular entries. And then my customer sheet, I don't have any entries yet, so I'm gonna add a new entry for a customer so that I can actually show you physically how an entry would be linked like afterwards. Sorry, so first name Sophia, last name Hampton, and then our phone can be this, and then her email can be sophia@ragic.com. Alright, so that's one customer, and you can see that it's a very basic design. I don't really have much information in here, but that's fine. I'm not going to really use that. So, alright, I have one customer and three products, and what I'm going to create with link and load is a sales order sheet so that I can select a customer and then place an order with several products in it. So for that, I think my products also need a price. Let me quickly add a price. For each of my products, and that's actually all. By the way, you can edit multiple entries through the listing page, or you can like click E to do this. I'm just clicking E, and all my t-shirts are 12 and $13.55. There we go, we just priced our t-shirts. And now I'll create a new sheet to actually do the linking in. Alright, so my sales order sheet. What I need for the first field is I need a sales order number. So I always remind this in most of my webinars, but you can notice that I have a customer ID on my customer sheet and a products ID on my product sheet, and now on my sales orders I have a sales order number. I usually recommend doing this and use something unique that it makes sense to you in your company. For example, my product's ID could have been an SKU number if you have SKUs for all of the products. Yes, I did say E for the shortcut on the list. We call them hotkeys. So I'll actually send you the hotkeys that are available on Ragic through the live chat. And E is the one for edit. I mean, you can do that in the listing page or the form page. They both work. And basically, if you look at the list later, you can have a look and see what can what you can use. It makes things easier and faster, in my opinion. Alright, so the sales order number is here, and I want to auto generate that through Ragic. It doesn't really matter what we pick right now. I'm just gonna edit this formatting. You can always edit the formattings, by the way. Doesn't matter what you write in the prefix. You just have to keep a specific format. Then these are all generated according to the current date and time if you want. This one is a number sequence that has 3 digits. So if I wanted to do 4 digits, I can add another digit like that. Alright, so sales order date. I also want to automize this so I don't really have to select the date every time. So I can do that through the default value over here. Let's just make that the create date for my orders. And save. Alright, so the linking. So in the start of this webinar, I mentioned that link and load is for selecting a value from another sheet and then loading the related values that go with that record. So a sales order is going to be related to one of my customers. So I'm going to select one of the customer IDs, and then I want it to populate the first name and the last name of my customer, as well as their phone number and email. Alright, so let's have a look at how that looks like when I create an entry. So basically, when I am creating a new entry, it will generate a sales order number on its own. It's autofilling the sales order date right now. And from here, you can see that I can actually select from a list of my customers when I click on the customer ID. So this is actually displaying what my customer sheets looks like. And if I had like thousands of customers, then I can actually filter them down. Or if I know their customer ID, I can just type that in as well. And you can see that when I select the customer ID, their related information is populated from my customer sheet. So that's what link and load does. Basically, it just grabs your linked field and then the loaded fields are all, populated from the source sheet. So we're gonna do that in another different way on the same sheet. I want to grab my products that the customer is ordering. So I'm going to go to Form Tools again and click on an empty space and link and load. If I wanted to edit this link that I already had with customers, I can click on the customer's um, sheet name, and then it will actually show me the linking we've done before. But I do not want to do that, so I'll just click on an empty space and go to products. So what we want to do here is have several products. So for those who are new to Ragic, we have something called subtables, which you can create in sheets that have several records. So what I'm going to do is that I'm basically going to link the product ID the same way I did with the customer, but instead of doing this vertically, I will link the rest of the fields um, in the subtable horizontally by ignoring where this, you see where my mouse is? This is usually where the value of the product ID would have been if I don't do this. So I'm going to ignore that white space and click directly on there. And you can see that the white spaces shifted downwards. So that means that my values are going to be in a list over here. So you'll see what that means in a bit. But I'll just link the price as well and exit here. Now I just saved this database design and you can see that my values have shifted downwards. Now what this means is I can actually select as many products as I want for this customer that who's ordering this, and they can have, for example, red t-shirt and green t-shirt as well. And you can see that the subtable is expanding as I add new entries. So this expands as much as you want, and you don't really have to worry about um, how much space you might need, because we're going to use formulas later and we always refer to the field header, not the field values. So you don't really have to worry about the expansion of this. Alright, so I'm going to save that. And this is what link and load usually does. You can either select or type in a value, and the related fields are loaded from another sheet. So this is something similar with select from other sheet as a field type for the linked field only. So if you only want to select one value and not load the corresponding things, you can use the select from other sheet field type instead. It's the same thing basically. And when you use the select from other sheet field type, it should show up under link and load anyway. Alright, so a very quick tidbit on here for my formulas and actually calculating the value of the sales order. I will need some extra fields like the quantity of the products this person is ordering, as well as the subtotal. So the subtotal will have a formula. Again, we're referring to the field headers, so it's going to be price times quantity, which is C10 times D10. So let's write that. I have subtotal selected and I will apply the C10 times D10 formula over here and save that first. And I'm not going to go into details on adding tax or whatnot, but I'll add a total to actually total all the line items over here. I'll just refer to E10. I don't have to do a sum. Another customer asked me if they are supposed to add equals to in the beginning, but no, you don't have to do that. So E10 will be enough, and you don't really have to write sum over here, because for subtables, what I did here is by referring to E10 directly is the sum. Alright, so I'll save that as well, and we can actually see how many different t-shirt types that Sophia is ordering. So my formula should work automatically after I input the quantities. So let's say she ordered 5 of the yellow t-shirt and 5 of the red t-shirt and 10 green t-shirts. So you can see that the subtotals are calculating automatically over here, and then the total is taking the total of this entire thing. And you can see that it makes data input quite easier when I use link and load instead of like entering these one by one. Alright, now that we have that, we can try a couple other linking tools for this. So we can see that under form tools, you already have customers and products linked over here. Now we can test multiple versions. So let's say that I want to create a shipping label every time a sales order is generated. Now I can do that with multiple versions and duplicate this sheet with the same data source on the new sheet. So if you uncheck this, it will actually not make the data source shared, but it actually creates a copy of your sheet design without all the shared data. So if you only want the design and use it for a different purpose, you can use that. But in our case, we're going to use the same data source. Alright, let's duplicate the sheet and call it the shipping label. So you can see, actually, I already have my sales order as an entry under here because it's actually displaying all the same things because it's the same sheet. But I'm going to have a different design for this one. So this is the shipping label sheet, and I have a sales order, related sales order date, and the customer, and the product information and whatnot. So this is quite nice to have, and if you have to have like different types of names, you can feel free to change the field names. It still has the field ID that's the same. So the total in my sales order sheet will still be this field in my shipping labels sheet. So I can actually change the name and make it something like merchandise value, and then yeah, like line item. So if you want, you can change everything over here, and then it will still be the same result with a different name. And I can actually add new fields over here. For example, saying like shipping date and shipping at shipped BL, and use a selection field saying like UPS, FedEx, and I don't know, USPS, whatever you need. So let's say that this order was placed today, but the shipping date is tomorrow, and I'm shipping it via USPS. So that can be my design over here. You can see if I create a new sales order for the same customer, it's going to be a second one, and let's say that it's a yellow t-shirt again, and 50 of these, total 600, and save. Again, the shipping label will be created automatically because it's sharing the same data source, and you can see that here. And then if you want to add the shipping date and the ship via value, you can do so. Alright, so that is multiple versions. We also use multiple versions to limit what people see. So I actually can, if I wanted to, create different access rates for different people. For example, if I wanted my salespeople to fill in the sales and only they can see them with the customer's different info, I can have more fields over there and less fields over here, and limit this to the people who actually handle the warehouse instead. So you can limit different access rates, and it's very useful if you add a fixed filter. What a fixed filter does is if I, for example, want to filter out the things that have already been shipped. So let's say that I do not want to see this entry because it already has a shipping date, but the shipping labels will be all the outgoing ones. Then I can actually filter for shipping date and filter by text. So there is a great thing that I can do. If I don't enter anything in this text box and click exact match and search for it, it will actually show me the ones that have an empty shipping date. Alright, makes sense? So basically I don't have any data in the shipping date as a value, and I only want to see those, like the empty shipping date ones. And I can save that as a view and make it a fixed filter on this sheet. So this is something only I can see because I'm the system administrator of the account. Other people won't be able to see that a fixed filter is there, or like they can't remove the fixed filter if they wanted to. So they will only be able to see those entries that are inside this filter. So if I save that fixed filter, they will only be able to see the ones that were not shipped yet. And basically, you can apply different filters that are defaults or fixed filters on different versions of the same sheet. Alright, so that's what multiple versions does in a nutshell. And next step, we're going to actually, if we wanted to, have a look at the statistics of all the products that were sold. It's gonna be hard to click into every single sales order, especially if I have thousands of them. If I wanted to, see all yellow t-shirts that were being sold. So next step we can use is new sheet from subtable. Now, this can be generated for any type of subtable, so it doesn't have to be a subtable that was linked and loaded over here. It can be a subtable that you manually created. It can be a reference subtable, although that doesn't really make much sense because the reference subtable still comes from somewhere. But the new sheet from subtable can be generated for any type of subtable you have in your database sheet. Alright, so let's click this and test it out. So we want this to link back to my sales orders sheet with a sales order number, so I'm not going to change this one. And basically, if you had more than one subtable, this will show more. Like this menu that we're looking at will show a few more if you had a few more subtables. So let's click this create new sheet from the subtable button. And this is going to create a subtable named whatever you had in your first field, or if you had a static field before your subtable, it usually names the new sheet according to that, but I'm just going to change the name, saying like sold products statistics or something like that. So you can see that this collects actually all the values that were ever in my subtables on my sales orders. So on this one, I sold a yellow t-shirt, and on the other one, I have three more items. You can see that in total, I have these 4 items. So if I ever wanted to filter through yellow t-shirt, I can actually do that through here, and then I can see all my yellow t-shirt sales. So you can see that through total and summary, I can also, have a look at the totals and averages of things, and you can clear the filter and then do other things or generate a report from this data. So it has a lot of uses. There are many different things that you can do. The quickest way to import into a subtable is also by generating a new sheet from the subtable and then importing into that new sheet. You just have to make sure that you have all the related key fields. So what I mean by key fields is that you probably need the product ID, then the sales order number, as well as all the related things that you need while importing into the subtable. Importing into the sheet. And then once you have those key values, because we're mapping the value of these sold products by the product ID to the sales order sheet. We're using the sales order number to map this to the sales order sheet. So you have to make sure that you have that value on your import file so that it can check which sales order it corresponds to and then map the items accordingly. Alright, I hope that makes sense. Alright, next step we have the show references from existing sheets. So in the start of the webinar, I also told you that we need a link and load for this to work. So you can see that we have the customers being selected to create the sales order, right? So if I want to put all the sales order that customer has ever, ordered, I can do that by placing the reference subtable on my customer sheet. So let's click change design from here, and through form tools, I'll click show references from existing sheets, and it's going to show me all the sheets that um, have the link and load from my customers to here. So sorry, it's going to show all my sheets over here, and if I select sales orders, it's going to show that this already has a linked field to my customers. So I can actually drag and drop this linked subtable over here. What we need is not these, because we already have the customer details on my customer sheet, but we probably need the sales order number, the date, and the total for this to make sense in my customer sheet. So if I save and exit, you'll see that automatically it will show the related sales order to this customer. And actually, if I hover on the sales order number, it will show on the right sidebar which sales order I'm referring to. So if you hover on the other one, it will show the other order on my right sidebar. Alright, so further to this, if I want to actually go to that sales order that's related after hovering, you can actually click on the little link over here and it will take me to that entry. You can see that I also have the shipping label over here because that is a multiple version of the sales order sheet that also counts as having that customer linked to linked and loaded to the shipping label, and I can actually go to the related shipping label entry over here. So if I actually want to link the sales order number by just clicking on the sales order number to go to that related entry, I can do that as well. Through form tools, you can see that I already have the sales order shown as a reference over here. So if I click on the gear icon right next to the sales order's name, you'll see that I have an option to create a link on this field to go to the sales order sheet. So I'm going to assign the sales order number to do that and save. And after exiting the design, you can see that this turned into a link. So I can actually click on a sales order number to go to that sales order. This already is happening for the link and load, I think. Actually, I might need to do that here as well. So, no, I actually can't do that. Yeah. Anyway, this link is actually showing me what customer it relates to on here, so I can actually click on this little icon over here to go to that customer. But I hope this was helpful about, different linking types. We have these 4 basic types, and there is also one extra option that you'll see once you have your linkings in place. So in my customer sheet, if I go to change design, you'll notice that, not here, sorry. Sometimes there is an extra option that shows up. For example, if I go to my sales orders and add a new field, perhaps it might come here. So let's add like sales order type, shipping or pickup. Right, if I actually added a new field over here on my customer sheet, if I wanted to show the type over here as well, then it's not an extra category, but I can actually go and click on the sales order's name and it will give me the option under available fields, and you can add it into the subtable and actually move where it is shown in the subtable. Alright, so you can see that I have a sales order type on here. By the way, reference subtables like the one I have here is not for data entry, they are for display only. And well, they work pretty well in most cases, but if you want to enter data from both the subtable and the sheet, then it's probably best to just create a new sheet from the subtable. So I hope this helps in your linking types and how to use them. If you have a very, special type of link that you want to create or can't figure out what type of linking to use for any type of project, you can write that in the live chat right now and we can try recreating some of that or at least point you in the right direction. No? Anyone? Alright, as a summary, we can talk about all the linking to, oh, there you go. So link fields from parent sheets sometimes appears when there are more fields on your parent sheet. So you know that my customers um, were added through link and load for the sales order, but now my customer has more fields, and if I wanted to just add new fields, I can drag and drop from this box, but it's not really um, important in most cases unless you add a lot more fields after you design the sheets. Alright, so for a recap, again, our linking options are all below the sheet linking options on my form tools menu. And link and load is to link data from other sheets and then load the corresponding values. Multiple versions is for generating different versions of the same sheet with different fields or if you want different access rates. New sheet from subtable is to collect all fields that are under one subtable, no matter what type of subtable it is, and it's easier to import data to a subtable with this method. Show references from existing sheets is just a way to see all related records if you already have a link and load between those two sheets. And that's about it. There are many different options for each type of link. For example, if I change a customer's phone number and I actually want to update all sales orders with the customer's new phone number, even though it's an old order with their old phone number, then you can click the gear icon over here and keep the loaded value synchronized with the source. So I don't really recommend that in most cases because um, you probably need the old record stay consistent with their old phone number. So and if you ever wanted to, contact that one customer, you can always look up their new phone number, but it's useful in some other cases. The dynamic filter, you can actually set what's being selected. So for example, um, if I can actually use this for the products. So my products can be either available or unavailable depending on inventory, right? So let's create a in stock yes or no selection field. So if my products were in stock, I'll create yes, and let's say that the green t-shirt is not in stock. And I only want to be able to select the products that are in stock because I don't want to sell the things that I don't have in hand, right? So if we go to change design, on form tools on products over here, click the gear icon next to the products sheet. We can actually check if the field value on the product other sheet matches. I can actually add a value or you can select something. Um, so I only want to be able to see in stock yes. Let's save that setting. You can see that I can only see the in stock yes option over here. And you can actually dynamically filter, for example, if I can actually check if this is a VIP and then show only the VIP, um, and then also show the VIP items that were in stock or whatnot. So you can manipulate that and add more clauses to all the options that you see in the dynamic filtering options. And again, if you want to do data entry from both the parent sheet and the parent sheet subtable and the sheet generated, then the best way is to create a new sheet from the subtable instead of using show references, because a reference subtable is not a place to do data entry. Alright, I do hope that helps you in your linking experiments, and if you have any type of linking that you are looking into but can't really understand how to use it, or are not really sure what to use for your specific cause, then you can always drop an email to support@ragic.com. We will always like to point you to the right direction and show you options that you might have not been aware of. So that should be really helpful to newer users. Alright, so if nobody has any questions, our webinar is shorter today with a shorter topic, mostly a recap of the linking types. So we do have another webinar on the 11th, which is next Thursday, about data analysis with third-party applications. And I really would like everyone to join that because it's going to be a very interesting topic, and we're going to all learn how to use different tools to, have a look at your reports and how to analyze your data. And I am actually planning to use Google Sheets as an example to show you how to do data analysis. So that should be fun. If you have like other tools that you're using for your company, then you can drop a line to me and just let me know. And I'll look into it and see if I can use that in the webinar as well. On the 16th, we have an office hour, so that's a Q&A session. And on the 25th, we're going to have data cleanup and preventing duplicates on Ragic. Alright, thank you all for joining, and for those who are watching afterwards, you can always write to support@ragic.com for your questions, and I hope you have a very nice day. Bye all.